Looks like we're live. Hello everyone and welcome to yet another recreational programming session with Azuzin. Let's make a little bit of an announcement and officially start the stream. So let's do red circle live on Twitch. And what are we doing today on Twitch at .television website? Today we are migrating to Raylib 5.0. That's right. I'm gonna give the link to where we're doing all of that, twitch.tv/Tsoding, and I'm gonna ping everyone who's interested in being pinged. And there we go. The stream has officially started. So essentially recently Raylib 5.0 came out, right? So thank you so much, Ray-san, for working tirelessly on this release. On this release, and I suppose it's a major release. And as far as I know, if I have any experience in software development, that means the shit may break, right? The shit may break. So essentially in SimVer, right? So if you hear about SimVer, I don't know if Raylib actually follows semantic versioning, right? So, but usually the conventional wisdom is you have a major version and a minor version, right? And essentially the minor versions are backward compatible, and you reserve backward incompatible changes for the major release, right? So as soon as you increment this number, usually that means that the shit may break and you need to be aware of that. So because of that, I decided to spend like dedicate an entire session just going through maybe what was introduced in Raylib, what was changed in Raylib, and also migrating our application, Musializer, the music visualizer, to this specific version. And we kind of want to do that because there's a variety of bugs that people reported that are related to Raylib. So, and as far as I know, some of those bugs were actually fixed in the latest Raylib release. Right, so essentially, if we manage to migrate to Raylib 5.0, we get those fixes for free, essentially. Right. So I'm gonna give the link to the release in here. So it's already in the chat, right? So the bot already automatically sent the message, right? Thank you, who actually said today, right? And for people on YouTube, it's gonna be in the description. I'm gonna put everything in the description. So essentially today is a Musializer stream, right? But as part of the Musializer stream, we're gonna be looking at Raylib 5.0. So that's basically the plan for today. All right. So here's the release of Raylib 5.0, right? So let's take a look at what we've got in here. So as far as I know, they kind of restructured the whole architecture, right? So now you have several platforms. So it became easier to actually add more platforms, if I understood correctly. And GLFW, which they used as the sort of like an initializer for OpenGL, now became as a separate platform. So, and because of that, to test the entire architecture, they added SDL as another platform. So you can use SDL as OpenGL initializer instead of GLFW. So people are complaining about bitrate. This is probably because there's a lot of text in here. I don't know how to combat bitrate. I can increase the text. Does it help with the bitrate? So hopefully that helps with the bitrate. So yeah, essentially they added SDL and stuff like that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using SDL. To be fair, kind of, I thought Raylib is basically new SDL, right? I thought they are on the same level, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be using it. And if I understood correctly, they added it as a proof of concept, right? So just to demonstrate how the new architecture works and how easy it is to add sort of new platforms, new sort of like backends for this library, right? So it's not like this is sort of like they encourage you to use, it's just like a demonstration, right? If you need it, for example. They also have a Nintendo Switch backend, which is closed source. Right. So Raylib, so you can develop like games for Nintendo Switch using Raylib. Right. So, but due to licensing, they couldn't actually release this entire thing. So it's actually kind of interesting. Classic Nintendo, am I right? So Splines drawing evaluation API. Okay, so I don't really need splines like quadratic Bezier and cubic Bezier. And if I needed, to be fair, I would probably implement them myself. Right, but it's nice to know that now we have them, right? So it's nice to know that we have them. Pseudo-random number generators. Okay, so it's not like this is Rust, right? But I mean, I don't know, maybe like specific pseudo-random number generators are important for game development. They're surely important for cryptography, right? So for cryptography, for instance, you wouldn't use a standard random number generator. But for the game development, if I understood correctly, right, quite often game developers like to use very specific random number generators for specific particle effects, for instance. Right, specific particle effects. I remember reading some articles from Jonathan Blow about Braid, how he developed Braid and stuff like that. And if I remember correctly, he designed a specific random number generator for the like cloud particle effects to make them like easily scrollable back in time. Right, so he crafted a very specific random number generator for this kind of effects. Right, so, and I suppose the standard C random number generator is not going to be suitable for that particularly. So, automated event system API. Oh, so for the Benny Hills test, right? So I suppose for the Benny Hills test. So Raylib for the official Raylib immediate mode GUI library. Oh, raygui. We don't use raygui. We actually kind of developed our own like immediate GUI library for the Musializer. I can actually show you. Right. So let's actually take a look. So let me start the Musializer. All right. So because I wanted a very specific look and feel, very specific, basically Discord look and feel. Right, so I'm gonna just put it in here. So yeah, we're basically developed our own GUI library that allows us to do these kind of things. Right, as you can see, it's basically custom elements and stuff like that, so you can actually move around in here. It's pretty cool. It's pretty epic in my opinion. You can mute this entire thing and stuff like that. It's pretty nice. So this is our own UI library. I don't think we're going to be using raygui. Raylib web examples functionality. I don't really think we need web right now. So the biggest Raylib update in 10 years. Would you look at that? The biggest Raylib update in 10 years. I wonder how many things are going to break. I really wonder how many things are going to break. And by the way, I was in contributors. Look at that. So I made my first contribution. And look at that, the pull request 3434. So we can actually take a look what exactly I contributed. I didn't really contribute anything particularly interesting or special. I just added a new function to set the master sound because it was kind of missing. So I just like extended, like edit one method. So I didn't think I contributed a lot, right? But I actually extended public API. I made changes not internally, but public API changes. These are quite dangerous changes, mind you, right? So because if you're making changes to the public API, you're making a commitment. You're making a commitment because now you're supposed to support that API. Otherwise, you're gonna break the users of those API, right? And look at that. I extended API, and now Ray-san is the one who's gonna support it from now on. I mean, it's actually a pretty trivial thing, so I don't think it's that difficult to support it, but I mean... Welcome to open source. Welcome to open source. Is this the React fan club? Yes, we're all like to program in React in here. We're really like React in here and writing reactive application. Okay, so let's go ahead and just maybe download the source code and try to build it. Right, so there was already pre-built binaries and stuff like that. But I think I'm going to be, you know, building this entire stuff from scratch. So I'm going to just like copy the address in here. And I think there is a problem with downloading this thing with wget. So it's better to actually click on it like that. So is it downloading? Is it doing things? Apparently it is doing things. It's not, I hope it's not gonna take too long. So it's already 6 megabytes. Why is it taking so much time? I honestly don't know. Show all the downloads. Okay. Look at this speed, violence, momentum. What the fuck is going on? Can I maybe cancel this shit and retry it again? Maybe it will actually connect to a different server, which is a little bit... it cannot retry that shit. That is bizarre. Sodium is technically in Europe, isn't it? I'm technically in Asia. Like, I'm in Asia. So I'm on an Asian... Oh! The classical, it didn't even resume immediately, and now it's downloading it twice. Software in 2023, I swear to God, why is it so fucked up? Russian AP throttled. Maybe they're throttled. But the interesting thing is that usually it happens like that, right? So usually it happens. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. Do we have Raylib? I don't see a Raylib in here. Oh, because I canceled the download, so... oh boy. So we can try to maybe copy this entire thing. So Musializer. Is it better? Is it better like that? Oh, that's the worst idea. If it's not going to help, if it's not... Oh, now it is okay. All right, now it is working. If I do that with wget, it is working fine, but it didn't rename the archive. Right. So here is the funny thing. Like, this is something that I can't get over, like, about GitHub. So the URL is just the version tar gz. It's just the version tar gz, which is kind of weird, but okay. When you click on it, it actually starts downloading this thing, but it renames it to a proper name, right? When you click it. But if you download it with wget, it still keeps it as 5.0 tar gz. Why is it doing like that? Like, I mean, I know that majority of people don't care, but these kind of small details piss me off to no end. Like, why is it acting like that? And here's the thing, it's been acting like that for as long as I can remember GitHub. They never fucking fixed it. It was always like that. Why it is like that? It's just... it is so fucking weird. It's like, what the fuck is going on? The file name is in the header. Ah, okay. So I suppose you need to maybe... So wget doesn't accept the headers or doesn't process them or something like that. But it's just like... And yeah, when I download it by clicking it, it's kind of throttled, right? So I can just try to download it one more time. And we can clearly see that the speed is basically throttled, right? So it's not very fast. But if I do that with wget, it's actually way faster and I already finished it. So, fucking no. Anyway, software in 2023. Software in 2023. I swear to God. Okay, so let me rename it myself, right? So, and I suppose the first thing we need to do, we're gonna do unboxing. We're now unboxing channel. I'm unboxing the new release. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we just unboxed a new release of Raylib 5.0. Isn't that progress? I think that's pretty progress. Okay, let's go into the folder. All right, looks as usual. So shit ton of different building options because people want to contribute something, right? They feel an urge to contribute something. They can't really contribute anything useful, so they contribute. I mean, I'm joking. I'm obviously joking. So yeah. So as far as I know, Ray-san himself uses make files, right? So he created just make files, and all of the rest of the building options like CMake, Zig, and stuff like that, they were contributed by other people. So, but make files is the official thing. So I suppose we can try to simply go ahead and maybe just do the make. I'm not sure if it's a good idea. I never actually tried make files in here, so I'm not sure how they're gonna work. Okay, so it's doing something. We're compiling the first module, which is our core. So this is the core of this thing. Okay, so ray shapes, our texture. So far everything is familiar. So this is the modules that we've seen in the previous release in 4.5. Right. So yeah. So our text. Okay. So I don't remember if we had our text before. RGLFW. Okay. So GNU source redefined. So some nodes. Our models. Okay. So this is for 3D models and stuff like that. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Our audio. Very important because we're doing audio. So what's going to be the next one? I wonder if it's going to build SDL though. I wonder if this is something that is going to build. Our audio is probably like a very heavy module, as you can see. It is a very heavy module. It's still building it. Okay, so it exploded with, warnings and stuff like that. And it finally built a static executable, right? So Raylib static library generated raylib.a in SRC. Okay, so here is the final thing that we have in here. So it didn't really build. Okay, so it's really not really useful to open it like that. It didn't really build SDL1, right? It didn't really build SDL module, but we can actually look for our SDL. Is there something okay, so there are platforms, right? And I don't really see SDL. Where is SDL? I don't see SDL. There's RGLFW, but I don't see SDL. Where is it? I don't see it. What the hell is going on? Can we just grab this entire thing and see where is SDL? So, oh, here, okay, so platforms are called, oh, okay, I see. R core desktop SDL. So I feel like it's by default not really, build, and there's probably some sort of flag that enables the SDL backend, right? So use external GLFW, platform desktop, if platform is one of those things. Okay, so there is a variable called platform. And okay, by default, the platform is platform desktop. Right, and I suppose there's a platform desktop SDL. So if you want to build a different platform, you have to probably say platform equal platform desktop SDL, if I understand how like makefiles work. By the way, this is my first unfiltered reaction unboxing of Raylib 5.0. I have no idea what to expect. We could expect anything. We could even expect Raysan5 himself jumping out of the SRC folder or something like that. We don't freaking know. So anyways, so let's try to build it with SDL, right? So we can try to do that. So we can do that. Platform equal platform desktop SDL. So by the way, if you want to set some sort of variables, I wonder if you can. I remember some time ago you could set makefile variables by providing them as arguments to make, like this. Right, so platform equals platform desktop SDL. Okay, so that didn't work. We can provide them before. That didn't work either. Okay, so the only option that we have in here is maybe providing it like that and then try to do it like that. Okay, so probably it doesn't matter. Probably it doesn't matter because it didn't detect. Yeah, so it basically built all of the dependencies. It didn't detect that something changed in here, right? So I suppose the thing we have to do make clean to remove all of these things, and only then we'll be able to just do that. And there you go. It tried to build SDL and it failed because I don't have SDL, I think. I haven't used SDL for quite some time since I got Raylib. I just don't use SDL anymore. It's not really needed, but we can try to install it, right? So we can try to install it for the sake of experiment, right? So lib, let me actually do tmux. And I'm gonna search for libsdl2 dev. Do we have libsdl2 dev? I think. There we go. So here it is. It's a libsdl2 dev. Should be installed. I think we should install it. So Yesu, Kawaii, if we can do so, just a sec. I forgot that I didn't have admin permissions on this account. Now we got reported. Actually reported. Okay. All right. Let me quickly to actually. Let me quickly to do that. Okay. Huh. That is really weird. You know why? You know why? Because apparently it's already installed. So I wonder what the fuck is going on. Like, why couldn't it actually find this entire thing? Why couldn't it find it? Is that because I have to external SD? It uses. Wait a freaking second. So there is a. All right. So it goes back SRC external SDL, and there's no SDL in here, but it expects an external SDL. Platform, it requires SDL to be provided externally, is not included and it must be configured by users. That is a very interesting choice, architectural choice, but I mean, I respect that. So we literally have to download the source code of SDL2. I wonder, like, that's really interesting. But I mean, it's an experimental platform anyway, right? It is an experimental platform, so maybe that's fine. So SDL releases, so they use actually 4th version, right? So there is this 4th, but there was already 5th one, right? So there is already 5th one. So let's take the 4th one. Are you freaking serious? Okay, so, and of course, we probably want to download that with wget, right? So we probably want to download it with wget. So we're gonna put that in here. Oh shit. I should have done it like this. Okay, so let me see who subscribed. Thank you so much, CyberSonic.io for Twitch Prime subscription, and TTY Bitnik, thank you so much for Twitch Prime. Thank you. Really appreciate throwing all of the money at Jeffrey Bezos. Jeffrey Bezos. Okay, so let's actually unpack, not unpack. All right, so there is a release, but in a make file, it is not called release, it is called like that. So essentially we have to call it something like this for this thing to be correct. If I understand correctly, right? It's kind of funny, right? So I don't know if there's any instructions about how to build the SDL platform, but I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory if you ever worked with makefiles, right? If you ever worked with makefiles, it's actually pretty self-explanatory. So this is how we do that, essentially. Okay. So let's try to build this entire thing and see what is going on. And that didn't freaking work. Okay, so this is maybe because this particular file didn't exist, right? So we can try to maybe find. Oh yeah, it doesn't exist. So I feel like it simply doesn't exist. External SDL2 include. Oh, include does exist, and here is SDL, but it couldn't find that. I don't really know. Why can't you find that? Why can't you find that? Because it's right here, right there. Okay. Did I download 4? People say I downloaded 5. Really? Okay. I didn't scroll. Oh my god, this is so bad. I'm so sorry. God fucking damn it. So okay, so let's actually do that. Like, I was dead sure I downloaded the right thing. I was dead sure. Okay. Why not use 228.5? Because I mean, the Raylib is built with an assumption of the 4th one, and I'm doing this thing for the first time. And here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? So this is a very valuable lesson for you if you're ever gonna be exploring someone else's source code. You don't make such a bold assumptions, right? Like, I literally looking at this code for the first time, and I don't want to make an assumption that it will just magically work with a different version of the third-party dependencies. Why would I shoot myself into the leg so much while just exploring the thing? No, you don't do it like that. You don't do it like that, and unless you want to have a really bad time, right? You look at the makefile, so the author of this makefile stated explicitly that they use this version. You use that version as well. Why would you go out of your way to use a completely different version? Like, especially if you have so much uncertainty about this project. Just think about it. Like, why would you do that? Why would you make your life so much difficult? You're already exploring the code that you never seen before. You have a lot of uncertainty. You're going to introduce even more uncertainty into the situation. This is very dangerous. That is why. That is basically why. I know that it's even like a, bug fix version, not a minor version. But again, this is the code that I have zero idea about. Here's the thing. Like, I just downloaded this code. I've never seen it before. I don't know what to expect. I literally don't know what to expect. And in my opinion, it should be obvious that in this particular situation, you just don't randomly change versions around. Make sense? Make sense? We're on the same page, right? Okay, cool. So, okay, good. It's a very important lesson for you. Trust me. I've been in situations like that many times. Right. Okay, SDL2. That's the version. Okay, so what do we have? Okay, it is building. It is building. It's doing something, and it's actually built, as you can see. So it already finished making our core. Right, so that means it is working. That means it is what? It is working. And it keeps using it. Look at that. So it uses includes and stuff like that, and it's all building. I feel like it built faster than... Yeah, I feel like it built faster, actually. Right, than the GLFW version. Though it feels like maybe it built less things. I don't freaking know, maybe. So as we can clearly see, the SDL platform builds successfully, right? It does in fact build successfully. One of the things we can try to do is maybe just make a hello world application that uses all of that, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So let's do hello.c. And in here, we're going to be including, I suppose, raylib.h, right? So we're going to be including raylib.h. And so I'm going to just go ahead and say, okay, initialize window, and it's going to be 800 by 600. Right, so let's actually do raylib 5.0. So if I remember correctly, what you do while not window should close, you begin drawing, right? So you begin drawing, then maybe you want to clear background with like a red color, and then you end drawing, and then you close the window. So the cool thing about Raylib is that that's the entirety of the boilerplate, right? So that's basically it. And now we can try to build this entire thing. So it's going to be main.c, but it's not going to build because Right, so the name is completely different, right? So this is going to be hello. There we go. So it doesn't see Raylib, right? So one of the things we want to do, we want to say, okay, search for the includes in SRC. Right, so Raylib H is not located in SRC. That is very interesting. So raylib.h, it is located in SRC. So the reason why it couldn't find that, I suppose, is because I used the wrong brackets, right? So I suppose for things in the include path, you have to use the quotes, right? So you're supposed to use the quotes. It still can't find them. Huh, that is really weird. Because I am an idiot, I put double dot in here. That's why. Okay, so that's cool. So it found everything, but it couldn't link shed. So, and the reason why it couldn't link shed is because we never provided the lib raylib.a. I think if we provide it like that, it will work. As you can see, it kind of worked, but it failed because it couldn't find mathematical functions, right? So another thing that it probably wants, it wants mathematical library. So it's actually linked with mathematical library. Okay, here's an interesting thing. It depends on SDL dynamically. That is very interesting. So I thought just because we provided the source code of SDL, it is going to link SDL statically, but apparently it doesn't. Isn't that fascinating? Like, why the fuck did we provide the source code in the first place if the only thing it used is the headers? Like, I thought it's gonna do the same thing as with GLFW. You know what does it do with GLFW? Right. So it is experimental, yeah, so Mahat is actually right. So it may be experimental, but I expected that it's going to do the same trick as with GLFW. Right, so with GLFW, it's kind of interesting. It basically concatenated the entirety of GLFW into a single translation unit and just compiled it and linked it with the library. So you don't even depend on the external GLFW, which is actually kind of cool. I expected that it's going to kind of do the same thing with SDL, but it didn't do that, maybe because it's experimental, maybe because it's more difficult, I don't know. Well, so it doesn't really matter, to be fair, it doesn't really matter. One of the things we can do, we can actually do LSDL2, and there we go, we successfully linked with this entire stuff, and we got hello executable, which is in fact 64-bit Pi executable, blah, blah, blah. So let's actually take a look at its dependencies. What does it depend on? It depends on a lot of things, and one of the things it depends on is lib2, right, which is a system one, right? It's really funny how we downloaded SDL purely for the headers and then still used the system SDL. Isn't it funny? I mean, again, I understand that it is experimental, but it's just funny, right? We downloaded an entire source code. I was hoping it's gonna like link it statically or do something about that. I don't even know if it's possible. Maybe there's something in SDL2 that it makes it impossible to just do the same trick with GLW. But it's just like, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny, not gonna lie. Okay, so let's actually try to run this entire thing, and it's running, right? So it is working. It is working. It's using SDL apparently. Right, does it even say anything about the SDL? Oh yeah, it does say that it is SDL. Look at that. So it does say that it is SDL. Right, so far I didn't notice any, you know, backward incompatibility in terms of API on a very basic level, on a level of just like using that. I don't really see any problems with anything, so everything is pretty straightforward. Everything is pretty straightforward. So maybe one of the things we should try to do, we should try to integrate all of that with Musializer, right? So we should probably try to integrate that with Musializer. So let me see. So Musializer, we build Musializer with our own build tool called Knob. Right, so people who watched my streams, they kind of know the gist of this entire stuff, right? So we're building C project with C program. We have a dedicated C program to build our big C project. So, and essentially, right, so I can actually remove this entire thing. There's no make files, there's no CMake, there's no Zeek or whatever the fuck people came up with like for this year. Right, so essentially you just build knob.c, right, and you get a single executable. So you build it once and you build it with a very simple command, just like straightforward command without any flags, without like anything, just build it. And it will build, because it doesn't really depend on much, right, except, you know, libc. And then you run this entire thing, and this thing already configures everything, you know, finds the source code and builds the source code, and so on and so forth. One of the things it does, it actually builds Raylib for you, right? So we supply the source code of Raylib with our project. That's how simple Raylib is. By the way, that's one of the things I like about Raylib, is that it's so simple. You can just copy paste Raylib into your project and build it with the project, and it will just statically link and stuff like that. I can even demonstrate you that, right? So like I'm gonna remove the build folder, because like in the build folder, we have Raylib, and there you go, here are all the things in here, right? So we actually successfully build this entire thing, but I'm gonna delete it just to demonstrate how it does that. So I'm gonna just run it one more time, and as you can see, it's building Raylib. But it's building Raylib 4.5, the previous version, right? So it's building the previous version. So what we need to do, we need to now migrate the build to the latest version and see how well it builds. So that one is going to be rather interesting. Okay, so let me see. So the way it works, we have different subcommands and stuff like that. So, but the most important subcommand is basically the build subcommand. It's also the default subcommand, right? So if you didn't provide any subcommand, we automatically set the subcommand to build. Like imagine writing CMake scripts, but in C. Imagine that. CMake scripts, but in C. This is roughly how it feels like, actually. This is roughly how it feels like. But I mean, you have a little bit more control over what is going on, right? So because it's more like writing shell scripts in C, right? It's more like writing shell scripts in C. So what we're doing here, so we have separate functions for building Raylib, then for building Musializer, and then for copying the resource folder into the build and stuff like that. So the most interesting part for us is building Raylib, right? So here we're building Raylib. And what we do essentially in here is we just do that. Here's the interesting thing. Raylib that. In how many places we actually mention this version? Aha. What if we made this version part of the configuration? So we already have a Raylib folder. Within the Raylib folder, we have two folders with different versions. What if we just keep both of the versions for now and make a configuration flag that allows you to switch between the versions of Raylib, so we can test, build with that version and then build with that version and see how it goes. Right, I think that's a pretty cool idea. I think it is. So we may want to actually go ahead and extend our configuration. So here's the configuration. So, and config allows you to basically control the build itself, right? So what's going to be the target, for what platform you're building Musializer? And we have several targets in here. So specifically Linux, Windows using MinGW, Windows using MSVC, and macOS. So this is the platforms we support for now, roughly, right? So I never actually tried to build it for macOS because I'm poor. That's the entire explanation. That's why I never tried to build it for macOS, because I'm poor. All right. But some other people's, my viewers who are rich, actually tried to build it for macOS, and they say that it works. But there are some problems with some problems with the sound, right? But it has nothing to do with the build. So the whole project builds fine. And the problems with the sound are allegedly solved in Raylib 5.0, by the way. So that's one of the reasons we are upgrading. We're gonna get a fix for macOS for free, right? So it's really nice to have things for free when you're working with Apple products, right? It's kind of nice. Just saying. Mac audio is a mess. It's actually quite surprising because, as far as I know, a lot of musicians and audio engineers use Apple products. It's kind of But maybe that's the reason why it is mess. Here's the thing. Right, because usually software becomes a huge mess when a lot of people use it for different purposes. So essentially developers basically pile complexity more and more, and it becomes kind of a mess. It's one of the reasons of increased complexity. It's not the only one, right? So the complexity can increase for different reasons, but it's one of them. So the fact that you have to install kernel extension to enable Discord screen audio is still hilarious to me. I didn't know that. That's kind of funny. So it's a coincidence you're not losing much as a non-consenting Mac user. It sucks balls. Interesting. But I always wanted to try it. So, but from what I heard and saw, like I actually saw like MacBook IRL. I know. It was mind-blowing. I actually saw like this aluminum thin thingy and it was just like, oh, is that a fucking MacBook? What the fuck? And I looked into the screen, like, and I saw the person who's working there, and it fucking looked like Unix. So like, it's just like, I mean, it's right, it's just basically Unix, isn't it? So I don't know. Okay, so, and we have, what else do we have in the configuration? So we have hot reloading. Hot reloading is actually a very cool feature. It essentially allows me to modify the code and hot reload it, right? So it basically does exactly what it says, right? So it does exactly what it says. So to enable hot reloading, we have to actually go to the configuration and say true in here. And let's actually try to build this with hot reloading. That will require rebuilding the whole... Oh, it didn't really rebuild the whole Raylib. It actually relinked Raylib to be a dynamic library. Okay. So, and if I now... do I have the file manager? I need a file manager super quick. I need you to call me a file manager. All right. So let's put some music maybe. So I want to demonstrate how hot reloading works. All right, so we have this thing, right? So we can do some stuff, and I can now make modifications to the source code. So let me open maybe plug, and let's modify something. For instance, we can modify in the accent color, right? So as you can see, we're using an accent color, which is basically bluish, right? So it's sort of like a bluish. We can make it basically red. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just recompile the whole thing, and I'm gonna say, okay, hot reloaded, and there we go, we automatically update it. It's a native application, right? And you can modify things and hot reload and update and stuff like that. It's very convenient when I'm developing UI, right? So it's actually pretty cool. So somebody asks how. This is a basic functionality of your operating system, believe it or not. But if you want to get like the gist of how exactly it is organized, when hot reloading is enabled, 95% of the application is actually moved into a DLL, right? So 95% of the application is moved into DLL, and the actual executable of the application becomes just an event loop that calls to a DLL, right? So we have things like plug init, plug update, and plug update renders a single frame and it calls to a function in a DLL. And all of the work of rendering a single frame is happening in the DLL. Essentially, when you press H, what we do, we just swap the DLL to a new version and continue the loop. That's how we do that. So, and since majority of the functionality is located within the DLL, we can hot reload pretty much anything except this loop, right? If I want to modify something with it, within this thing, I won't be able to do that without restarting the whole application, but I don't remember the last time I touched this part of the application ever. Like I just wrote it once and I forgot about it because it doesn't contain anything. It's just a loop that keeps pulling the frames from the DLL. And everything, literally everything is happening within that DLL. And here's an interesting thing. Then you can disable hot reloading, and all of the logic is moved automatically into the executable and actually linked statically. So this entire thing can work with hot reloading and without the hot reloading. So basically in the release we disable hot reloading and you get a static executable, which actually has less dependencies, less moving parts, and those more reliable generally, right? I don't really want to ship this hot reloading feature to the user. I don't think it makes sense to ship that to the user. Though in the future we're gonna have a system of plugins which will allow you to like plug in different visualization, but that's a completely different story. That's a completely different story. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, I'm using word DLL and SO interchangeably, like as a synonyms. Yeah, obviously. I thought it will go without saying. I didn't expect that I will have to, you know, clarify that. But yes, I'm using DLL and .so interchangeably. And also interchangeably with dinlib or whatever the fuck you have in macOS. It doesn't matter. The concepts are in all the separating systems are the same. Okay? Anyways, so let's actually bring this entire thing back. So the last thing that we have in the config is a microphone. So this is unfinished feature. So essentially I want to enable visualization from the microphone. Essentially we can just enable this entire thing and, you know, build this entire thing one more time. And what it does, it you know, enables an unfinished feature, which allows you to visualize via the microphone. It's kind of funny that it cannot pick it up, but let me see, maybe there's something with power control. Why there's a playback from Chatirina? Oh, this is because it's playing sounds, okay. So we have input devices, so all right. Oh, okay, so it uses by default the mic from the webcam, but the mic from the webcam is actually muted. So we can unmute it and it doesn't really do anything. So it doesn't even pick up anything, but we can just try to, oh, there we go. So I just switched to, I hope the sound is okay. But yeah, so we're now using the mic that OBS uses. So, and you can visualize the voice. So this is unfinished feature, right? I didn't really fully integrate it into the main application. That's why it's behind the feature flag, right? So I'm practicing feature flags. So yeah. Okay, again. So that's basically what we have in here. And one of the things I want to do now, I want to add another config parameter that allows you to specify the versions of the Raylib, right. So I think that makes sense, right? So let's go ahead and try to do that and see how it goes. So what do we have? A Raylib version, right? So Raylib version. So we have a function that basically initializes the config, the default config. Initializes the default config. So by default, it disables all the features, it disables hot reloading and microphones, so that is fine. And the target is set according to where you're running the program from, right? So if you're running it on Windows 32 from, you know, MSVC, if you compiled knob with MSVC, so the target is going to be Win64 MSVC. I know that Win64 is not a platform, like, I mean, but who cares? It's Windows. And one of the things I want to do now, I suppose, by default, we're going to say that the Raylib version is actually this one, right? So for 4.5. And another thing we need to be able to do, we need to be able to parse one of the flags. So what kind of flag should we assign for Raylib? That's a very interesting question. So we already have things like -R. -R enables hot reloading, -M enables the microphone, H is help. So what's going to be the flag for the Raylib? Maybe it's going to be simply Raylib, right? So if a flag is Raylib, we have to do something in here, right? In one of the flags that we can have in here. is going to be a Raylib. Let's put it like this. Version of Raylib. So obviously at the end we're going to have only one version of Raylib, but while we're migrating, it's nice to have like a flag to switch between the versions and see how it works, right? So let's not jump into completely deleting the previous source code. Let's just have both of them and see how it goes. So by the way, we need to provide a parameter. So that means we need to check that the parameter exists, right? So if argc is less or equal than 0, that means we need to do knob log. So knob error, and we're going to say no argument is provided. I think we already have that. No value is provided for flag, blah, blah, blah. All right, and we can even copy paste this entire thing, but here we're logging available targets, right? So, but instead what we should log in here, we should log available versions, right? So what kind of versions do we support? It's going to be knob log. So when I log available, yeah, I'm using error. Available versions. And what versions we're going to have as available ones, right? So I suppose this one or this one. So we support only 2 versions for now. After that, we just get that value. And I think I want to just check if value strcmp 4.5 is equal to 0. We're gonna just so I'm just thinking how I want to organize all of that. All right, so essentially I want to do something like a Raylib version equal to value. So I suppose it would make sense to always set Raylib version to value, and when this thing is not equal to this thing, we're gonna say something like this, and not equal to 5, we're going to do knob log, knob error. This is not a supported version of Raylib. Right, so we're gonna do value, and we probably want to log available versions. So I'm copy pasting the code because I think majority of this code is gonna go away once we migrate it to Raylib, right? So that's why I'm copy pasting. Right, if I was sure that this code is gonna, you know, stay here for a long time, I would probably created something like this, like log available targets, for instance, right? And then here we're logging available targets, and probably even could have created something like this as well for the versions. But I don't plan to have this code for too long, right? So it's just a temporary code. That's why I'm copy pasting. It's fine to copy paste code, Chad. It's fine to copy paste code, especially if it is temporary, and especially if it's just 2 places. Just quit. It's okay. It's okay. Right? Nobody's gonna give you a bad grade at exam or anything like that. This is not uni. This is real life. It's fine. Dry was a lie. Dry actually can be extremely toxic, to be fair, if taken like too far. Because quite often, maybe you want your code act like a list of things. And in that case, copy pasting actually makes things more readable, right? When you apply dry, you're actually compressing the code, thus kind of decreasing the readability of the code. Here's the interesting thing. Copy pasted code is more readable. Copy pasted code is more readable. You know why? Because when you look at copy-pasted code, you instantly go, oh, it's a copy-paste. How did you guess it's a copy-paste? Like, just think about the level of readability of the code. You look at the code and you instantly identify the problem with the code. That's how fucking readable it is. That's how fucking readable it is. Copy paste is more readable. It's just a fact. You can test it for yourself. By getting rid of the copy paste, you compressing the code, thus decreasing its readability. But all comes at a cost, right? And again, I'm not saying that you have to copy paste the code all the time from now on. What I'm saying is there are trade-offs in real world, right? So you see where I'm going with that? You see what I'm talking about? Isn't it interesting? Isn't it freaking interesting? I think it's freaking interesting, right? So yeah. And the way I usually use copy pasting is that I let the code to multiply until certain patterns emerge. And once you see certain patterns, those certain patterns are easier to compress, to factor out, right? So, but then until the patterns are copy pasted sufficiently enough, there is no point in spending time compressing those patterns, if you know what I'm talking about. Right, and especially when you're gonna delete this code anyway, so what's the point, right? So there's no point in spending time on that anyway. Anyways, so so in case of an error, we obviously want to return with false, right? Obviously want to return with false. So let's try to rebuild this entire thing, and what do we have? And yeah, so when we load the config, okay, so we're loading the config. We'll log in the config, right? So raylib version, right? So we didn't finish this entire thing fully. We didn't finish it fully. Login is important because we use this function to basically tell you like the current configuration, right? So when we start the build, we tell you what's the current configuration, current configuration, and then we start building. And it's actually kind of useful, right? So I want to instantly see. So we're building for the Linux, hot reloading is disabled, microphone is enabled, right? So that's the current configuration. So also dumping configuration is when we basically serialize it. So this is one of the things I probably want to be able to do. Right, so let me quickly do that. So append str, might as well actually copy paste this entire thing. Right, so it's going to be a raylib, version. So config parse. Okay, so now we need to be able to parse the config file. Okay, so there's so many places I have to make the changes in to add a new configuration parameter. So maybe I want to, work on that. So if we encounter raylib, we have to parse it correspondingly, right? So we have to parse it correspondingly. This one is rather weird, honestly. This one is rather weird. So we parse Boolean. How are we gonna parse all of that? So this is the key and this is the value. So I can't just assign the value. I can't just assign the value to the config, right? Because the value is string view. But one of the things I can do actually, I can actually do a comparison. I can compare this entire thing to one of the available versions, like so. All right, and if it's equal to that, I'm going to config raylib version, assign this entire thing to just that. Otherwise, if something like this, so this is not fully closed, this is going to be something like that. Right, so the reason why I'm doing it like that, again, is because the value is actually not an ultimated string, and it is located in a memory that could be deallocated at any moment, because we're reading the entire file into the memory, entire configuration file into the memory. We parse it, and then we may deallocate it. I don't think we deallocate the content right now, but we may deallocate it. So because of that, I can't just assign this thing in here. right, because of the difference in the lifetime, right? Rust developers would understand lifetimes and stuff like that. So that's why I'm assigning a thing that has a static lifetime. Do you guys know what is a static lifetime? The static lifetime is basically the object lives for the entirety of the application, and string literals have a static lifetime. Right. So yeah. Otherwise we may want to do something like that. So we can say maybe this thing is not a supported Raylib version. So I copy pasted this thing 3 times already. So yeah. I copy pasted it 3 times. So this thing is not a supported version, but I suppose the way we have to do that is svfmt, svarg, right? Otherwise we won't be able to do that. And we also need to be able to specify the location, right? So file zu, so path role +1. So we need to specify the location. Okay, so I guess that's it. Basically, that's it. And we, by the way, in case of an error, want to return with defer. Okay, let's go through the compilation errors and see if it's going to work. So something with a warning in here. So it's a knob sv. It's a knob sv. What else do we have in here? Knob sv. Another one. What else do you want? All right. So if we take a look at this thing, so raylib null. Aha, because it was never actually. Yeah, it doesn't exist in a final configuration in here, right? So it just simply doesn't exist, which is kind of funny. Right, so which is weird. Didn't I say in the default configuration, that just use this as the default one, especially when I just run it and we're loading this entire thing? Don't we load the configuration from the default config? We don't. I just realized the problem. Or do we? Right, so if this thing exists, yeah, we compute the default config, then we... Okay, that's very interesting. So if file exists, we just load this thing, but we never... Okay, that makes sense. So essentially what we have to do, we have to use the default config, then load the config on top of the default one, and only then it will make sense. Okay, so that makes sense now. There we go. So as you can see, the Raylib is actually set to be 4.5, blah, blah, blah. Right. So let me actually delete this entire thing. I'm going to do knob config. Right, so it's using Raylib 4.50. And if we take a look at the configuration in here, right, so here it is. So we have that, which is kind of cool. So adding a new parameter to the configuration must be easier. It must be easier, I think, but I'll work on that. I will make it easier at some point. So because it's all in the development state, right? So this is an experimental, very much experimental building tool, just like SDL support in Raylib, right? So it's all of that is just experimental. So that's why it's rough around the edges. So I think we need to actually start using the version, the Raylib version. So let's go to the build Raylib and let's find where we refer to the version, right? So here we refer to the version. So now we can say, okay, use the version from the configuration, Raylib version. There we go. So as you can see, now it's going to be using that specific version. Depending on the version, it's going to be simply using a different folder, right? It's simply going to be using a different folder. And as you can see in here, we have 2 folders, 4.5 and 5.0, right? So let's find all of the places where, yeah, there we go. So here is another one. So this is going to be s knob tmp sprintf, right? So we're going to be doing that just like that. Config raylib version, there we go. So here is another one. So let's quickly do that. So this is going to be s knob temp sprintf. So config raylib version. And okay, so there's actually several places. Can I simply use a little bit of a Emacs magic to achieve an epic victory royale? I don't think I easily can, unfortunately. Right, so that's kind of a little bit annoying, but okay. Maybe, what if I record a macro? Right, so I'm gonna do 3, 4.5. Right, so I'm gonna replace this entire thing with that. Then I'm gonna find this knob tmp as printf. Then I'm gonna find the opposite thing in here, so config raylib version, and I'm gonna close that, and I'm gonna finalize the macro, and then I'm gonna repeat the macro down below on this thing. Right, so I'm gonna just press F4, and it didn't fucking work. Okay. So yeah, this is because I made a mistake during recording the macro. But one of the things you can do in Emacs is that you can record the sequence of actions, you can replay the sequence of actions. You can do that in Vim as well, but something went wrong during the recording, so I don't really know what. Right, so because I made a mistake, I made an oopsie doopsie and potentially fucky wacky. It do be like that sometimes, but that's fine. I don't think I have too many places where I have to make the changes and stuff like that. So at least I didn't see any more places where I have to make that. Right, so 5.4. Yeah, okay. So if I take a look at the version, it's still being referred to in, okay, in these places. So maybe I can query replace this entire thing super quickly with knob tmp as printf. Can you even see what I'm doing in here? I'm not really sure if you can see what the fuck I'm doing in here, but yeah. So okay, so ray, it's a config raylib version. So let's do this replacement, so to speak. Hopefully that is correct. Let's find another raylib 4.5. This one, I think that's the only place where we do all of this stuff, right? Yeah, this is the last place finally. So knob tmp as printf. So as you can see, I had coded the version and now I have to change it in all the places, but I mean, I didn't expect that I'm going to be changing that version. I mean, I should have expected that, right? So, but I didn't. I really didn't. But that's fine. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Holy shit. Okay, so here we're passing config by... so to be fair, quite often we passing config by a value. So maybe doing it like that was not a particularly great idea. So let's go through all the places where we just call that. So luckily in Emacs it's relatively easy. I can just jump to the compilation errors and basically fix all of that. I don't know why I assumed they are passed by reference, but I mean, this is one of the annoying things in C, to be fair. In my opinion, C should just have auto-dereferencing. It should just have auto-dereferencing, right? So essentially, it's super easy. It's super easy to detect at compile time that you have a pointer to a structure on the left-hand side of the point, of the dot, and just assume arrow instead. It's super easy, and if you just add that to the C compiler, it doesn't break any of the existing code. It just doesn't. So I think I even did a stream on that where I extended TCC to do that, and it was actually very successful. So I don't remember if I uploaded that to YouTube. I don't remember, but maybe I did. So let me see. So some people in the chat do remember that stream, right? So some people in the chat do remember that. Sorting auto dereferencing. So let's actually see. Oh, I think I remember how the stream was called. Hacking C compiler. I think that's the stream. Yeah, Hacking C compiler. It's that one. Oh yeah, so I do remember that after, yeah, so that's the stream. That's the stream. So basically in this stream, I extended TCC to support auto-dereferencing of the structures. Right, so essentially what we did, we extended it so that it looks at the left-hand side, and if it sees the pointer to a structure, it just replaces that dot with arrow. It basically does the same action as the arrow. And it didn't break any of the existing code. In fact, we could compile TCC with itself with that extension, and it compiled fine. So it just worked fine. You can just enable that extension. It won't break any of the existing code. Though it will create the code that is backward incompatible with all the C compilers. Right. So, and maybe that's why it's never going to be enabled, but it's relatively easy change, so I don't freaking know. So I'm going to put that in the description for YouTube people as well. So, so Tsoding, hacking C compiler. Right. By the way, so I recently started to use this pretty cool extension for YouTube, which basically removes all of the suggestions and stuff like that. It's literally called remove YouTube suggestions. Remove YouTube suggestions. Thank you, Hamikovi, for suggesting that extension. So it's remove YouTube suggestions. And I actually like this this extension, right? I really like it. So I think I can provide the live in Chrome. Yeah. So this is the website, official website. One of the projects. Yeah, remove YouTube suggestions. So this one. So there's extension for Chrome and for Firefox and stuff like that. So here it is. And I'm going to put that in the description as well. So recently, the way I started to use YouTube, I started to use YouTube in a very old-fashioned way. So with this extension, I removed all of the suggestions. And now I'm only watching the videos in my subscription feed without any suggestion algorithms or anything like that, like it used to be like 10 years ago. Right. And you won't believe how many channels I discovered that I completely forgot about. It's fucking insane how algorithm buried so many cool channels I subscribed to just because they were not engaging enough. Fucking, like, I don't want to watch engaging content. I want to watch the content that I like. And here is the thing, engaging content does not equal to the content you like. So it's not the same thing. If something is engaging, if something makes you engage with the video and leave a comment because something pissed you off, that doesn't mean that you actually like it. Right. So I don't want to watch engaging videos. I want to watch the videos that I like. And the videos I like, I know the videos I like. I subscribe to those channels. Fuck you and your algorithms. Seriously. Fuck all of that shit. So, and I like recently started to enjoy YouTube more. Just because I have control over what I watch. Finally. Old man yells at algorithms. I don't know. I'm enjoying YouTube. Do you enjoy YouTube? Maybe you do. So, yes. Okay. So what we want to try to do? We want to try to delete this entire thing. We want to try to delete this entire thing. And I'm going to do config Raylib 5.0. Right. So, and as you can see, you can't see that. Raylib 5.0. Okay. So let's try to now build with a newer version. Is it going to work? Okay, so we're building the 5.0, which is nice. I really like that. So that means our build system actually works with a newer version of Raylib. So let's see if it's going to work, if Raylib, newer Raylib is going to work with our application. Okay, so, okay, apparently everything compiled fine. Okay, that's cool. So no special migration is required, which is kind of surprising. So it seems to be working. It just fucking works. How can we know the version of Raylib that is currently we're using currently? Yeah, we're using Raylib 5.0. So, a huge win for Raysan, I suppose. I mean, yeah. By the way, web devs, can your web technologies do that? I just made a major version upgrade. Like that. Can your framework, web libraries, web technologies, browsers do that? Just works. New version. No changes required. Major one. I don't fucking think so. I don't fucking think so. Anyways. Imagine if Raysan asked for donations in this info printout. As far as I know, there are ways to support Raysan, so I think he accepts donations. Let's actually see. There should be some way to support him. I wish I could support him, though I don't really have a way to transfer money to people in Europe. So as far as I know, he's in Europe. So you can basically sponsor, right? So, but I can't sponsor via GitHub. Maybe there is an option through crypto, right? So I will research that, right? I'll research that. I'll see if I can actually transfer some money via crypto. But yeah, so if you want to support him, and he does deserve support, really. So this is like, he's doing an amazing job, because maintaining library like this and making sure that you can just upgrade from 4.5 to the major version is a lot of work. It is fucking hard. It is enormously hard. So he does deserve more recognition and more money, that's for sure. So yeah. And this is not a small application. Well, I mean, we have mini audio. Well, let me actually quickly remove mini audio. Right, so I'm going to do clock. And how many? So, yeah, 2,000 lines of code. So Musializer, as of right now, is 2,000 lines of code, right? So it's, I wouldn't say it's a big application, but it's, I mean, it's an alright application to introduce some problems during the upgrade of the dependencies. So, yeah. What do people use Raylib for? You want to see what people use Raylib for? Didn't I just show it? For this? I don't know what to say. For putting rectangles on your screen, yeah, exactly. So it just allows you to put rectangles on your screen. Reactive GUI without React. That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay, guys. So that was easier than expected. So this is basically the new version of Raylib. That's basically the new version of Raylib. So yeah, I'm already streaming for 1/2 of an hour. Or my sleeping schedule is still a little bit broken, so I don't want to stream for too long. So I'm gonna call it a day for today. Right. So I also didn't stream for quite some time, so I need to get into the into the rhythm again, right? So people who stream probably know that if you didn't stream for quite some time, it's kind of difficult to get into that again. So you want to go back slowly. So let's not push it to 2 hours, right? So let's stop at 1.5. And we already did everything I wanted to do for today. I want you to check the newest release. I want you to upgrade Musializer. So yeah, essentially we probably don't even need all of that code that I've written for picking different versions of Raylib and stuff like that. I can simply just use the version 5.0. But I need to spend some time like preparing everything, right? So especially I like to one of the things I like to do with the Raylib is to remove everything except SRC, because I don't need any of that stuff, right? So I'd like to remove that. I don't want to commit all of that. I want to just keep SRC because that's the only thing I need anyway. I'm going to do all of that off screen, and then I'm going to commit that, and hopefully that is going to fix some of the problems. There is a very interesting thing, by the way. So I'm probably going to stay for a little bit longer. In 4.5, there was some problem if I enabled multi-sampling anti-aliasing, MSAA, right? So, so essentially, let me show you. And this is where switching between the versions is actually very useful, right? This is where switching between them is very useful. So, but I still have to remove the folder. So knob, let's do the default config, right? So we're gonna use the older version, and let's build this entire thing. So let me go to the Musializer. And how do I enable MSAA? So raylib src raylib.h MSAA. So what it does, it basically enables anti-aliasing and gets rid of the pixelated like staircase edges and stuff like that, which is extremely useful, right? So here's the config flag. I don't remember, so maybe set config. Yeah, so you're supposed to set config flag to enable this entire stuff. I don't quite remember where you set it. I think you set it before you initialize the window, right? So, but we're gonna keep it in here. So it is not initialized for now, right? So we're gonna keep it uninitialized. And I'm going to simply run Musializer. So let's take a look at the version of Raylib. The version is 4.5, right? So 4.5. And if I add a little bit of the Music, right, and we take a look at the rounded edges, as you can see, there are staircases and they're not really smooth or anti-aliased or anything like that. For example, I have MIP maps for the icon, right? So for different resolutions and stuff like that, and it is anti-aliased and it actually looks nice, especially when you zoom out a little bit, right? All of that anti-aliasing, it actually shows, it actually works really nicely. I really like that. But it doesn't work for the rounded edges. It doesn't work for the rounded edges because we never enabled that anti-aliasing thing. So we are on the old version of Raylib. Let's actually try to enable the anti-aliasing. So, and there was a bug for a long time in Raylib that make that not really work great for circles and rounded corners. So let's try to rebuild this entire thing. Right. So, and I can't Hotreload, by the way, because I'm modifying things in event loop, right? So because it's initialization, so it's kind of difficult to. Yeah. Okay. There we go. This is the bug. For some reason, there is these extra pixels. As you can see, the edges are anti-aliased, so everything is okay. But then within this section, there's this noise, and I don't really know where it's coming from. And as far as I know, Ray-san was aware of that. And I remember him asking on Twitter if anyone knows what could be the case. I wonder if that bug was fixed in the latest major version, right? I wonder if it was fixed, because I kind of want to have like anti-aliasing around the edges in here because it kind of makes it look a bit better. But this bug, it just kind of meh in my opinion. So let's actually remove all of that stuff, right? So I'm going to reconfigure this entire stuff to use 5.0, right? So let's quickly rebuild everything and see if it's going to make it look better. Oh, right. So let me see if this thing is working now. So let's actually double check the version. The version is 5.0. As you can see, it is in fact 5.0. And let's enable some music and let's take a look at the rounded edges. Thank you, Ray-san. Thank you. You won't believe how thankful I am for fixing that bug, because the rounded rectangles are so ugly without anti-aliasing, but then you enable anti-aliasing and it makes it even worse. It just makes it even worse. Thank you for fixing that. Ray-sama, thank you so much for fixing that. I really appreciate that. So the whole application became slower, right? So it doesn't resize so responsibly anymore because, I mean, there's more fragments to render, right? I suppose. So that's the reason. But overall, I mean, it just looks nicer. It just looks nicer. So I'd like to maybe add a little bit more samples in here. So we have, you know, more things to scroll. So yeah, and so generally all of that just looks nice. It's a bit slower, yeah. Like MSAA actually makes it a little bit sluggish, especially when I'm streaming. So, but I'm gonna check it when I'm not streaming, all right? And maybe it's gonna be faster. So maybe I'm gonna also create an option to disable that when I'm streaming, right? So it doesn't really consume too much resources because I'm using 10 years old laptop, right? So, and it's difficult for such a laptop to stream and also do, you know, anti-aliasing simultaneously. All right, so fucking dying. But anyway, that's it for today. Thanks everyone who's watching right now. I really appreciate it. Have a good one, and I see you all on next recreational programming session with Mr. Azuzin. I love you.